our recording.
Welcome, everybody, to the info session for the Master of Product Innovation program here at VCU Da Vinci Center. My name is Allison Schumacher. I'm the Director of Academic Alchemy, and I do a lot of things around the center, but mainly running our academic programs and bringing in some of our corporate partners and teaching in the program and those kinds of things. Mary Chris, you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry, trying to find all my unmute and all my controls. I'm moving things around a little bit. My name is Mary Chris Escobar. I am the Associate Director for Student Success here at the Da Vinci Center. And so that means I get to work with students kind of all the way through the process from this point of information sessions, all the way through advising, orientation and advising once you're in the program. And I work with both our graduates and our undergraduate programs as well. So welcome, we're glad to have you here.
Excellent. So this session, we're just going to have some pretty high level talk about the program, but we welcome those who are able to attend with us in person. Feel free to ask questions along the way if you like, or you can save them to the end. Kind of up to you. We like to be pretty conversational and just kind of let you know who we are. So yeah, let us know along the way. I'm sure other people have the same kind of questions, but I'll let Mary Chris continue.
Great. Well, just a little bit of an introduction here. You all are actually both familiar with the Da Vinci Center, so I'll do kind of a high-level introduction for those who might be watching the recording. But we really believe what we're really doing here at the center is prototyping the future of higher education. We believe in cross-disciplinary, extremely hands-on learning by doing. We always say that we don't take tests, we take risks. And so if you've taken a class with us, you realize that this is our philosophy. We really try to exist kind of in the middle of these three circles that you see here, academic, experiential, and experimental. So everything we're doing on the academic front is going to be really experiential, very hands-on, like I said, learning by doing. And then we also experiment with things. And so when I do these sessions for undergraduates, but it works for graduates too, if you knew someone who went through this program 5 or 6 years ago, and they're like, oh, we did this thing, we may or may not still be doing that thing. We believe in the design thinking philosophies that we teach, and we use design thinking in that empathy-based design process to get feedback from our students and tweak and change programs and classes. And we're already always offering new things. And so that's really, we like to talk about that and talk about those three circles to say that we're really trying to use all of those things together. And then we also have our design aspirations here, which I am not going to go through one by one, but it's just to give you a little bit of a feel for what guides us, what our guiding principles are as a center. I personally really like that they are our design aspirations, because that indicates that we're always moving and growing, and we're trying really hard to do these things, and we're hopefully hitting the mark most of the time, and hopefully learning when we maybe don't hit the mark. I'll also just point out a couple things here. We really want to help students connect with the community. We want to bridge that classroom and community. And we also embrace failure. And so again, that learning by doing means you are going to have experiences in our master's program where things maybe don't go exactly as planned. And I like to be really clear and upfront that like what you're learning and what you're doing in our program is learning through those experiences. And so your grades in the MPI are not based on, you know, does your project succeed? Does your business get off the ground? But it's what you learn from that. As a result, and Allison will talk probably a little bit more about this as we move through, but we are a really different program. And so we always say, if you're looking for a master's program where you're going to get a reading list and syllabi and, you know, things at the very beginning that you can just kind of follow step by step, we really don't teach that way. We want you to learn by doing and get out there and get your hands dirty and try things. And so I think talking a little bit about that idea of transforming education and embracing failure kind of together is upfront is important, just to say the way that you learn in this program looks a little bit different. It's not that we're not going to give you reading lists and projects, but those are not going to be, you know, standard read, write a paper, and take a test kind of things. And so hopefully if that appeals to you, you're in the right place. And I'll just also talk a little bit here. This is really exciting news as of late in our center, our Shift Retail Lab, which we will talk about a little bit later in this session, kind of in the perks of what is open to you at Da Vinci. And I know, Monica, you're already familiar with this, but our Retail Lab just won Fast Company's 2023 Innovation by Design Award in the learning category. And so we're really, really proud of that. We had been recognized in the past for urban design for our space that's right across from the Siegel Center on Broad Street. But we're just really honored to be recognized for what we're doing in this space of learning and thinking about how to teach differently in a very hands-on way. So super excited. This is hot off the press and great way to kick off the fall semester. And Allison, I'll let you talk a little bit about this part.
Absolutely. So in terms of academic programs, if you're already a part of our programs, you may already have some information on this and between kind of the difference between undergraduate and graduate programs that we have. Really looking at undergrad, our very first certificate we started was product innovation. That's mainly where we're bringing in problems from the outside. So teaching students the arts, the business, the engineering, and then working on a real world project that is intended to go out and be a real thing. It's not just a kind of a thought exercise. It is really intended that you're convincing your people by the end, your clients by the end, to carry forward what you have learned throughout. Venture creation was our second certificate. That one primarily focuses on problems that students bring in. So more the entrepreneurship piece. If you have a business or a product that you want to start, you can do that through Shift, kind of on your own, or you can also be part of a certificate program that can help move you through that. And then we also have classes in human-centered design, which is the core of all of our education at Da Vinci. We lead with empathy. We understand problems of actual users and customers before we're developing businesses and products around them. And if you want to combine all of that and kind of ramp it up a bit, that's where we are with the Master of Product Innovation program. So, in the fall semester, we're really talking about industry and talking about how innovation and innovation and entrepreneurship kind of fit into the product development space. And then come spring, we're more on the entrepreneurship piece, and we have lots of different electives and things throughout that we'll talk more about that kind of help students shape their MPI to what they want it to be. And one of those directions that students can go is healthcare. So we have a graduate certificate in healthcare innovation. It's a total of 12 credits between, and actually go ahead and flip to the next slide there, Mary Chris. It's a combination of 12 credit hours coming half from the School of Nursing in their leadership program, and then half from the MPI. So if you're already part of the MPI, you don't pay anything extra to do that certificate. That just the 6 credits for your electives in the MPI would be those 6 credits coming from the School of Nursing. You can always do more. Our tuition is capped once you're full time. So if you're at 9 credits of tuition, you can take up to 15 credits. And you're not paying additional tuition. You may have additional fees, but usually those are only during the summer that those extra fees are kind of out there. So yeah, you can get a little extra education for your budget going through this program. But that particular program really focuses on how can we bring together care providers, people who are working in healthcare and or have previously worked in healthcare, with people who know how to develop products. So you're kind of learning both at the same time. You got to know how healthcare works, right? So how regulations, safety, all kinds of things within, how do you get a product moved into a healthcare space? What does FDA regulation look like? Those kinds of things. So what are the considerations, the different types of stakeholders that can be in a healthcare facility that can help you be successful? Because generally when we are developing a solution in isolation, either only through the eyes of the provider or only through the eyes of a product developer, there's going to be a mismatch, and it's highly unlikely that it's actually going to move into the healthcare space. So we're trying to provide context there, trying to provide inspiration and motivation there to be able to help anyone who's from either side who's coming into the certificate, how to carry forward, how to create solutions that are really beneficial to patients or to the healthcare facility itself. So that's a 12 credit hour thing. That's something you can do independently. We have separate info sessions for that if you want more details there, or you can talk to myself about that. But everything's cross-disciplinary. Everything's a kind of a partnership with the School of Nursing. For the Master Product Innovation Program, generally it's 13 to 18 months. Sorry about that, Mary Chris. Generally, it's 13 to 18 months. If you start in the summer and end in the summer, it's basically a 1-year program, a little extra on there. If you start in the fall, it's usually end in the fall, depending on your track. You can also finish in the summer. Currently with how our courses are laid out, you can also go part-time, and it can take up to 2 years to complete the program. But that's what we're here for, to kind of help you bring it forward, but very much advanced product innovation. And you are required to go through an entrepreneurial experience. In that, we're never going to make you start a business, but that mindset and that ability to think from an idea through validation and all the way trying to move something towards commercialization is where that full mindset kind of comes into being an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur. All right, next one. This is me or you?
We can kind of talk through it together. That sequence of courses that Allison was talking about, what we find to be really helpful is 2 things here. We're going to show you what that summer start looks like, what a fall start looks like, and I'll also show you sort of what a part-time start looks like, just so you can sort of see how the courses sequence out. We are an accelerated program, as Allison said, 13 to 18 months if you go full-time. And so our classes are pretty specific in what semester they're offered, and when you take them in the order that you take them in. So in just a minute, I'll show you. Right now, we're kind of focusing on summer because we are focused on that December 15th deadline for the summer program. So I've got this summer startup. I can also show you what it looks like if you start in the fall, and I'll show you a sample of what it looks like if you want to do a part-time schedule. But what's also helpful about this, and why we've got this slide here, is the best way to get a feel for our program is to know what classes we teach, and to see sort of the things that you'll be taking and the subjects that you'll be studying. And so we're going to go through this as if you're starting in the summer, because I'm kind of guessing that's what most people who are attending these early sessions are interested in. And then we'll show you how it breaks down on different configurations. But Allison and I will kind of talk through these together just to let you know what the classes are, because again, that's just such a helpful way for you to know what the program's about and what you're going to be doing. So the summer kicks off. You've got 2 different options to start the program in the summer. One is Inno600, which is our European Innovation Academy in experience in Portugal. I'm actually going to let Allison talk about that because she goes with students on that experience and has been there. And so I want her to tell you about what that is.
Yeah, we didn't get back. God, it's been less than a month since we've been back from EIA, which is kind of great. So generally starts in the 2nd week in July and runs through the 1st week in August. This course is the fire hose effect of everything innovation and entrepreneurship. So students come in with ideas from 65 different countries. They're forming teams of 5 in order to go from idea to pitching to investors in just 3 weeks' time. It's very structured and kind of paced out, but it is meant to be the breadth of knowledge of product development and entrepreneurship. But from what I've seen, it has been life-changing for our students to be in a completely different place. You likely don't speak the language as the primary language of this particular location. You're meeting people from all different cultures and backgrounds and age groups, and the diversity is insane. You're working with mentors and speakers from Google and Amazon and Silicon Valley and nonprofits and all kinds of things. And you're able to develop relationships with them over time. So expanding your network. You're coming with an idea or joining someone else's idea. Generally, we tell our students to join someone else's idea for the learning experience, as opposed to bringing an idea that you love. That can start to complicate things in terms of intellectual property and those kinds of things. But you join in on a team. You start with an idea, you work through validation, you pivot, you understand marketing, you get first users, and all the way to that end pitch. And, we had a couple of years during COVID that we could not attend. And I just have to say that each year our students get better and better. And the 11 that I took this year just couldn't have faced that with more resilience or support for each other. And I think it was a very good reflection of the types of students that we accept into this program, that it's not meant to be focused on competition. It's meant to be focused on humans and support, and being able to work through this stuff together, because it's hard and we're learning, right? But we learn our best when we're challenged. But anyway, this course is just, it's really fantastic to be able to go, but you do have to start in the summer or take it in your second summer. I would recommend it at the beginning of your program. My students' reflections after this summer also said the same thing. We had some who were at the end of the program, some who were at the beginning, and both really consistently said that the first summer, joining in that first summer and going before you really get going in the program is the better way to do the European Innovation Academy. 610, I'll just kind of talk about its alternative. We during COVID, we had to offer a second option for something for Inno 600. So that course is it is primarily change management, design thinking. Let's see, we have somebody. Oh wait, no, we have one person online now who's in it. And so there'll likely be a question about how that might apply. We can get to that in a little bit. I'll write it down so I don't interrupt this particular situation. But 610 is, it's taught, all of our classes are taught by industry professionals. This one is taught by Open Air, and you come out of it with 3 certifications, internationally recognized certifications. So you're still getting a lot of professional experience and portfolio items or things to add to your resume. And same for 600. I will say that over this year, we're going to work with a third-party partner to try to create a graduate level international online internship program or internship-like experience that can give more of that international piece that we're missing in Inno 610, but we have in Inno 600. So keep your eyes out for that. Future info sessions will have more information as that progresses. I'll go ahead and talk about the 691s too, Mary Chris. So 691s, we say it's, it's got a star next to it for recommended electives. Most of our 691 courses are 1 credit courses that you can add up to being 3 credits over time. So we offer these during the regular semesters, but especially over the summer, we're offering things like intellectual property protection, user interface, user experience, user research, prototyping. They're usually 1 to 2.5 week courses that are being utilized to build a introduction or a basic skill set in that space. They're not meant to really go deep, but they will help you prepare both for EIA and for entering into the fall semester. So they're things that you probably need to know about because you're coming into a cross-disciplinary program. Most of our students don't have these skills, but becoming aware of it kind of helps you figure out where your interests are, and then we can build those skills more strongly in the end. We are offering things like implications of ChatGPT this semester in a 1 credit. That's a 591, but 591s and 691s are very similar in this. They're all electives, and they're open to other students at the university at various different levels. So you can work both with MPIs and with people outside of the program. But yeah, lots of options. We used to only offer like 7 courses that were open to everybody at the university, and in 2023 we offered 41. So in that Venn diagram that Mary Chris showed, we really have that between the experimental and the academic. So as students, we commonly ask that if you see gaps or there's a subject that you would like to learn about, to give us a recommendation, and we can work to go out and find a professional, somebody who has level of expertise that they can come in and teach a class, and we can see if it goes. Because why not? Our students should have direct input into the programs that they're joining into. But all right, Mary Chris, I'm gonna let you take it back over.
Absolutely. So in the fall semester, the fall is what we like to call the heaviest semester, because it is, you can see there's 4 classes in the fall, but the fall is your heaviest semester in the MPI. So you all are aware at the graduate level, 9 credits is considered full-time. So as you're looking at these semesters and you're looking at the number of classes and you're thinking, oh, like I thought this was a full-time way to move through the program, you'll notice in the fall and the spring, you're in 12 and 9 credits. So that's full-time. The credit load is usually 6 in both of the summers, just how it works out in an accelerated program. But if 9 credits is full-time, you can see that like 12 credits is a pretty heavy semester. This is your foundation in that cross-disciplinary education. And so your 501 and 501 course is an arts-based course that really looks at how you approach product design through that lens of art and design. And that is going to be primarily designed for students who don't have a design background. And so if you're coming to us, as a graphic designer or as someone who has studied some form of design, you may feel like you can opt out of that class, and that is fine. But I will say it's an arts course, but if you're coming to us with a background in performing arts, for example, probably if your background's not in design, you're still going to want this foundational piece.
That would include like Figma,
yes,
your prototyping, digital prototypes, and those kinds of things. So yeah, we can also
yeah.
give you the opportunity to speak with a faculty member, or we can give you more details too on each of the courses to kind of give you an idea of what
Yeah.
it is you might be learning in that course. Yep.
Yeah, but you do Figma and Adobe and lots of kind of things to get you up to speed on that design piece. But it is, on the flip side, if that is not your background, it is designed for people who did not study design as an undergraduate student. So, don't think we're going to throw you in with all this terminology and you're going to be lost on that. The NO502 course is a business related course. It works really hand in hand and in tandem with 590, which is your project course that I'll talk about in a minute. But you're going to learn all the basics again of approaching the concept of product design and product launch through a business lens. And so what do you need to do to prepare a business plan? What do you need to think about in terms of marketing and finance? And so you're going to learn all of those skills in that course. And Allison, feel free to jump in if I'm missing things on these. And then the NO503 is an engineering and tech course. So again, looking at how principles in technology, principles in engineering apply to the design process and apply to thinking through product design. So you'll be in all three of those classes. You do have an option if you have a background specifically in one of those areas to opt out. That is a decision that we talk to you about. As Allison said, we can link you with the faculty. My number one recommendation to students is usually to go to all of the classes, meet the faculty, look at the syllabus. Every semester has an add drop period, so you can go to that first class, kind of get a feel for it and see if it feels like it's going to duplicate what you've already studied. If you're in a special situation, for example, we have a couple students right now going through our program who are also in a master's in engineering. Obviously they are not taking that 503 class with us. They are doing an entire master's level course in engineering. They don't need to take that class. So we're always happy to talk with you about that. Our program is designed to be completed in 30 or 33 credits. And so I always like to be clear that exempting that doesn't mean that one of those classes counts as an elective for you. It doesn't mean you have to take extra classes. You do just get to complete the program in 30 instead of 33 credits. But generally speaking, we're going to recommend that you take all three, and we can talk to you about your specific situation. The reason we're recommending that you take all three is in the same semester, you're going to take your NO590 project course, where you're going to be applying all of the things that you're learning in all of those classes to an actual hands-on real project. And I am going to let you talk about that one, Allison, because you teach it or have taught it in the past and are co-teaching it now. And it seems not right for me to talk about it.
No problem. So the 590 course really starts to bring in more of the product management or project management side of doing innovation and doing product innovation. It is a course where we're running Scrum and Agile. We have people in the course who are teaching proper language and working directly with students in order to learn how to do that. So if you did leave the program and go immediately into a job like at Capital One, you would know that terminology and you would be able to jump right in with a team that is running Scrum over at Capital One. But we work on a lot of different projects in this course. This semester, I think briefly mention some of the things we're working on. We're working on everything from helping Brown Ballerinas for Change really figure out a platform to be able to engage the different communities that they want to bring in. We're working with Dominion Energy to help them get closer to reaching net zero carbon output. We're working with, let's see, I have so many projects, so they're off the top of my mind. A physical product to be able to help veterans, injured veterans or amputees be able to better and more safely move from their cars to their mode of transportation. A facial dressing to improve the prevention of hematoma after a facial surgery has been done, and to prevent necrosis and various other things. We usually get quite a few medical products that come into the group. Well, we have 6 in this course. So we have like 20 students and 6 projects that we're going to be working on. And the beauty of this is that you don't have to have a background in these spaces. That's the magic of this program and this course is that we're bringing people from very different backgrounds who don't necessarily have a previous skill set or understanding of these issues to be able to work on them, because you all can think differently than people who have been working the same job for 30 years or that have developed an expertise in one specific place, because you're going to question things in a way that those groups would not. You're going to try things and experiment a bit more than what they might. Whereas, you know, if I've been doing the same job for 30 years, I'm gonna say, that can't be done because I've never seen it done. Versus students who've never seen it, become an issue, may find a route or a direction that is just brand new. So in this, you know, the students get a rank which projects they work on. And we, again, are working for real sponsors. So you're presenting to these companies. At the end, you may be presenting to, you know, CEOs of these particular companies, but you are both students simultaneously as being professionals and working directly with a sponsor and a client. So it gives you a portfolio piece. It gives you one heck of a story to talk about in terms of working in a cross-disciplinary team. And we'll give you the opportunity to answer a heck of a lot of questions in job interviews, I guarantee you, just from that one experience. We do have other experiences like it that are maybe shorter, that are offered throughout, that will just reach out to students and see who might be interested in working on like a short-term project or problem through the MPI, so you can gain some more experience. This is one of the toughest classes, but only in the way that you got to kind of build the plane as you're flying it, right? You don't know how to do this stuff, and so you're learning, you're getting some structure, but ultimately you have to form with a team and be able to move yourselves forward in a direction that can hopefully gather more information towards a solution. Like Mary Chris said, your solution doesn't have to be a success one. You could find out that the problem that was brought to you is not the right problem to be solving and you present that research, and then we shift and we pivot just like we would with anything else. So really great class, really great mentors and faculty and those kinds of things that come together to help you be successful in this space. But there will be frustration, but your other courses, the 501, 502, 503, will be helpful along the way, especially if you're full-time. Yep. I can keep going, Mary Price, if you like. Awesome. So 651 in the spring. This is the first half of the capstone. Sorry, we're labeling everything with numbers, and I know this gives you very little context for what these classes are. But 651 is the first half of your capstone. Your capstone is a total of 12 credits of this 30 to 33 credit masters. The 651 is more about the entrepreneurship piece. You do not have to have an idea when you come into the MPI program. We have a mentorship program with a lot of our administrators and faculty that help you to kind of figure out, what challenges do you see in the world? What would you like to solve for? What are the spaces that you're interested in? And we get to have a lot of conversations in the fall semester to help you figure out what you want to do in the spring semester in 651. Could be that you're partnering with another MPI. Could be that you have a product that you were just gonna, a thing that you were just gonna make for maybe a significant other that turns into a product. This happened with Quinn, one of our current students. She wanted to create something for her boyfriend for a present. It's a bed extender because he's super tall. And we ended up turning into a product, and that became her 651 project. And we have spent hours prototyping together, and it's just a lot of fun. That's like my vacation away from my job, like in my job, that I get to prototype with students. So I'm all about that. Need to do some prototyping. Anyway, it gets me very excited. But this particular course is meant to be we're going to meet you where you are in whatever idea you have, and we're going to help you get to where you need to be. So you establish some goals. We have lots of guest speakers that come in. We have a lot of experts that come in and help the students move from idea or from wherever they are in their point of validation towards commercialization. You don't have to start a business by the end of it, but if you want to, you can carry that into the second half of your capstone and actually develop that business and work on launching that, most likely through a Kickstarter campaign. Depends on the idea, depends on the project, and if it's Kickstarter appropriate. But we want to help you get that off the ground if you want to carry it into the second half of your capstone. So first half is you can borrow technology. You can look at technology from the tech transfer office. You can partner with another MPI. You can bring an original idea. There's lots of options for 651. And then for 652 in the summer or in the following fall, You can either continue your project from 651 with approval from the graduate committee. You can do an internship or have a job in product, or you can do more of a traditional master's thesis, which is usually only pursued by students who have an interest in doing a PhD. But it's very, very rare that anyone does a full master's thesis in this particular master's program, more or less because it's focused on the applied side of things. So I gave an example of Quinn, who has this bed extender coming into 651. I also want to call out Jack Oppenheim, who's currently in our program. He went to a UVA and developed a company called Tow Ninja, TOW. So it's kind of a two-sided marketplace to be able to help tow companies stay organized with the cars they tow, and to help people who get their cars towed really figure out where the heck their car is, and to be able to like drop it early, or, you know, provide benefit to both sides in this. He's a little bit further along in terms of his business. He wasn't a brand new idea about this type of bed extender. So we met Jack where he was, and he created his own goals, and we helped kind of push him to go a little further with those goals, and then started introducing him to the right people, helping him get into pitch competitions, various other things. But his goals for the semester look very different than Quinn's. And that's good. That's okay. Students get to see different stages of the process, digital versus physical, all kinds of different products that go through that. So ultimately, we keep this program small deliberately, so that way we can understand, we can know you as humans as much as you want to share with us, and that we can understand where you want to go, help you figure out where you want to go, and help you get there. Electives in spring there, just to round out this particular quadrant slide. Those are similar to 691s, 591s that we have. And you can also take courses from other departments. Mary Chris has a very long list of different courses that students have taken in the past. You don't have to take all your credits with us, and we're pretty darn flexible about what those courses look like. So that way, again, you're able to shape your program in the way that you need to shape it for yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's a great point about electives. I put in the chat, because you are so right, these are all numbers. I put a link to the course descriptions. We're giving you a lot more color and description than there is there. But if you want to see the sort of generic course descriptions, I linked those. And then I linked what we're currently offering as electives through the Da Vinci Center. But as Allison mentioned, you can take things from other programs. And I'll just reiterate, if you decided you wanted to do that healthcare certificate alongside our MPI, the two courses you take with the nursing leadership program are the 6 credits of electives that you need for us. You can choose to take above and beyond that if you want, but it works really seamlessly that you don't have to do additional electives with us when you do that healthcare certificate. So yeah, like I said, I dropped that in the chat, and we're always happy to talk about other departments to help you fill needs that you feel like you have. An example would be, we've had students who are interested in maybe working toward a nonprofit or toward something that's more like a B Corps, something that serves and gives back. There's some great classes through Wilder School and some of their graduate programs that talk about nonprofit management and that kind of thing. So that's just one example. We've also had a lot of students go through MBA courses. So always happy to have those conversations kind of early and often about what you might want to do with those elective credits.
One
Also,
one. Oh, you might be ready to say it, Mary Chris.
Well, I was just going to say, also, when we're hearing similar themes over and over and over from our students, that is sort of how we decide what electives to start trying to develop.
Yeah, a 697 is also an option, so a guided study.
Oh, yeah.
That allows you, if there's a subject that you haven't found there, you want to do some research. Maybe you do want to do a PhD and you want to do some deep diving into research and do a writing example, so you have that to apply to your PhD. We have had a lot of students do that in the past. They've been accepted into journals, accepted to go to conferences. We've helped support them in being able to go to said conferences through registration and hotels and those kinds of things. So we always want to support students who are really putting themselves out there. But if you don't see a way to fill the gap, definitely talk to us, because we've probably been there before and will likely be able to help with that.
Yep, absolutely. Great. And then this is just all the same things that we just went through, but what it looks like if instead of starting in summer, you start in fall. And so this is where, as Allison mentioned, some of our students went to EIA, so that's that INO 600 course, kind of more in the middle or toward the end of their program. Those were students that started in the fall. And so this is what that option looks like if you were to do a fall start with us. And then I'll also just show you on that part-time sequence, you can start part-time in the summer or the fall. What we have here kind of split up is just a fall start. And there's a lot of variability in here, specifically with those electives. There's not variability in like those 500 level classes because they're only offered in the fall. Now you can take 502 and 503 together, like you can split them up differently than they are here, but the 500 classes, 501, 502, 503, 590 are only fall classes. So you'll see that sort of accounted for here. And then kind of how things, you have to have the 590 to move into the 651 and 652. So you can sort of see how that splits up. And once again, that EIA experience would come in the middle if you were to do a part-time fall start. So again, some variability with the electives here and where they fall, but just to give you a feel for what it looks like to go through an accelerated program on a part-time basis, that's what it looks like. One interesting thing to note here is if you are thinking about working full-time and doing this part-time, if you were to go into a traditional 60 credit master's program, that's going to take you, 2 years as a full-time student. So it's going to take 4+ years as a part-time student. So a really interesting thing about doing an accelerated program part-time is within 2 years, you're completely done with that program, which is pretty amazing. And just as someone who did that traditional route, 2 years sometimes feels like a lot easier to bite off while you're working full-time than that 4 to 5 years. We also get a lot of questions about, the benefit of like, do you get as much out of the program if you go part-time or full-time? And, that is going to be a really personal thing. A lot of that has to do with how much you put in. If you work full-time and go to our program part-time, one huge benefit is that you're going to overlap 2 different cohorts of full-time students. So your network is just that much bigger. And I think, if you're working full-time, it's just kind of committing to the time that you're in the program of doing things in evenings and weekends and engaging with Shift Retail Lab and engaging with the cohort. This is always kind of like you get out what you put in type thing. And so I think it looks different for every student, but I can tell you that we had a student go through part-time who was very nervous about that. And what ended up happening is he met a lot of students, connected with a lot of people. He is now over I don't know what we call him. Is he like the president of the alumni board? I don't know what the title is, but he is like leading up our alumni board that we're trying to get off the ground for students. And so I think part-time can be an amazing way to go through if you're trying to balance this with your full-time work. We do have students work full-time and go through our program full-time. Again, you are an individual and you are the expert of you. I think it's a lot. Like me as a human being would not make that choice, but you know yourself and your energy levels and how hard you want to push. And so we have 100% had students go through the program full-time and work full-time. And you just, I think, buckle up and know that that's going to be a really intense 18 months, but it is doable and something that you can do and people have done in the past. So we leave those decisions to you as a human, but are happy to take you through them and talk you through them. All right. Do you want to talk through some of these perks?
Yeah, absolutely. So year after year, we consistently try to provide more for our students, and a lot of the things here came out of student feedback. So, we're scheduling in specific sessions to really listen to our students and what their experiences have been, to make sure that we can, when we're hearing consistent things, that we can make changes over time. The beautiful thing about being an MPI, you can use the heck out of Shift Retail Lab, and it's not just for like studying while it's open and conversing with other MPI students or other students in our programs. But we have had students who have made it as part of their 651, have turned it into an after hours music venue, have hosted, completely changed the space. I got to work with a student to build out this crazy structure that completely sealed off one area to where it could do projections and things in there for a Iranian cultural festival. They had music and traditional wine, and her Iranian community came together to make the food. And the whole point was really to help create a bridge between Americans and Americans' understanding of Iranian culture and how Iranians, the country of Iran, has been depicted in our media. So how do we take some relatively negative understandings or negative representations and show the beauty of Iran? And so we had architecture and beautiful scenery, so you get an idea of what it actually looks like there, and being able to hear the music. We also had a lot of people from her community who she made pins for, and they were living library. So you can walk up to any of those people and talk to them about their experiences. There were like 90 some people who showed up to this thing. It was incredibly successful. It was incredibly moving. But you can take over the space. It can be something that you just have as yours for a matter of time to be able to do experiments of whatever scale that you like. We want more of that. I want to tell all these stories of everything that y'all do with it. You get $1,000 in funding that is just kind of held in reserve. So if you want to use that to prototype for your capstone projects, you can. If you want to use that to be able to attend a conference that maybe you're not speaking at, you can go to said conference and utilize that funds throughout the time that you're in the MPI program. There's lots of things. We generally do the purchasing for you because it's state funds, but yeah, there's support there so that you have some extra money on top to be able to work through what it is you need to work through, software, all that kind of stuff. The one-on-one mentoring and networking access, this is something that was added due to student feedback. Our students are like, listen, we want more contact with the administration. We want more contact with faculty. This is back in, I think, 2017, 2018. When they said this, and we're like, oh my gosh, we were a little embarrassed that we hadn't thought of it. So there is a mentor schedule where students can come in to talk to any one of us at least once per month. They're required to do it at least once per month. And you travel from each mentor, but you have access to us at any point. I've had probably 6 different mentor sessions with students who are not on my list for this particular month, but that doesn't matter. We just want you all to know that we're accessible to you and you can get on our calendars, and we're here to help you move through things and answer questions. And heck, I was making a pros and cons list with a student as to whether or not she should take this full-time job just on Friday. So, if it comes down to that, that's the kind of relationship. Happy to help. Fellowships, scholarships, GA support. We do, depending on our donor funds that we get each year. So we do have some pretty generous donors. Our board, they have the opportunity to provide funding to the center, and all of that goes back into supporting students. We don't use any of that for administrative costs. And we usually, so the last couple of years, we've been able to provide fellowships, which are $10,000 in support for a student to do a deep dive. So basically, we're accrediting your account. If you're going through 4 semesters, we just give you $2,500 each semester. You write about, so you submit a proposal, you're accepted, but you have a subject matter that you are deciding to deep dive into. So we have a student doing esports. We have students doing design thinking in social impact work, mental health care. And so they just go out and build a network, research this space, have as many interviews or contacts as they can, and just come back and then tell us at the end of each semester what they learned. It's pretty low in terms of expectations, right? Like, we have an expectation that our students are doing the work, right? But in terms of us setting parameters or telling you what you have to do, it's relatively low. This is meant to be exploratory. It's meant to be research. But we do have scholarships, and we do have graduate assistants or student worker jobs that we work with. So students can be paid about $18 an hour to work about 10 to 20 hours a week with us. Over the course of the semester, that might be for recruitment, it might be for a teaching assistant, but when you apply, you will see the question about if you're interested in a graduate assistantship, and gives you a little opportunity to write about the things that you might want to do, so we can help fit your desires and what you might want to do and the needs of the center into one position. And we're pretty flexible with those too. Being a VCU student, you have free access to the Adobe Creative Cloud. It's pretty great. We're one of 30 full Adobe campuses. Let's see, and we have a pretty good makerspace. So we have, I think 4 or 5 3D printers, laser cutter, it's a 40-watt laser cutter, 3D scanners, AR goggles, VR goggles, a bunch of hand tools, just general places to work, clay, materials, wood, all kinds of stuff in the space that's just free and open for students to use. Over time, you do have to go through some training to learn how to use some of the equipment. Oh, we also have a vacuum form machine, which is pretty cool, especially for creating packaging. maybe shift and some packaging in there, or if you create food molds or various other things. Let's see. Oh, and if you would like to have access to a bit more advanced equipment to do some building, or you just want to learn how to use certain types of tools, we do have a partnership with the College of Engineering in their 10,000 square foot makerspace. They offer courses and various other things that our students can go through and then use those spaces over time. Yeah. So lots of different opportunities while you're here.
Awesome. So now that we've told you kind of all the perks and all about the classes, and hopefully you are ready to apply, just a little bit of information about that. There's instructions here, but essentially if you go to our website and go to Programs Graduate, there's a place to learn more about the MPI. Once you get there, if you look at the section that's titled Application Deadlines, and this is actually really intentional that we put the Apply Now link there. All the deadlines are there. We're mostly talking today about the December 15th deadline, but there are deadlines there for the fall, as well as some special international student deadlines. Those are all there. There's also listed on our website now, you'll notice when you go to apply, dates for your interview. And so when you're thinking about applying, once you have hit apply, take a note of those sort of save the date dates. I believe we have a date set for January for everyone who applies by that December 15th deadline. And the only reason that's set in January is because that deadline hits and then the university closes down for winter break. And so there's a little bit of a lag there. But something new, again, kind of based on that student feedback and that design thinking process that we're doing, is being very intentional about letting you know what those interview dates and trying to move you through that process quickly. And so I've got a little screenshot here. Right now, when you click out to the graduate schools webpage or graduate admissions webpage, there's still some 2023 applications up there. Just make sure you're looking for the apply for 2024 terms. And then it's really clear. You just click on the apply for other programs. There's a Wilder School button and a social work button, and then everything else is on that other section. So that is where you find our application. If you go to the 2023 one, you're not going to find our application because those are all closed for the term that we're currently in. So these are for starting in summer of 2024 and on. And if anybody has trouble navigating directly to that, we'll have an email up at the end. You can reach out. We'll send you a direct link to get to that. So what we need by that December 15th deadline, there's a place on the application for you to upload a statement of intent. There's also instructions there for sort of what we're looking for there, but that is essentially just your why, for why you want to do this program, what you're interested in, what you want to learn. There's obviously not a right or wrong answer. We're cross-disciplinary. We are very much, what you want to make it as far as entrepreneurship or product, more in that product space. So like, we're not looking for one over the other. Just what are you curious about? What do you want to learn about? There's a place to upload your resume. You will also need to include the names and email addresses of 3 references. You don't have to get reference letters and upload them for your application to be ready to go. You just need to let those folks that you asked to be references know that they will be getting an email that they will need to add a letter to and submit it. But you don't need that to be on time for the deadline. You need to put your transcript request into the system. We can get your official transcripts later down the road. There is a place for you to upload an unofficial transcript, which is really helpful to us in looking over your application. I'll also just take a moment here. When you look at the graduate school information, there's a mention of needing to have a 3.0 GPA in undergrad. I just want to throw out that if you happen to not have that, do not feel intimidated to apply. We recognize that a lot of different things can happen and come up. Probably the most frequent one I see as someone who's worked in higher ed a long time is you maybe started in a major that wasn't the best match for you. And you might have spent 3 years trying to dig out of that organic chemistry class you took your freshman year. Sounds specific, but it's less specific than you would think. So, we recognize things like that happen. We also recognize you have tough semesters because something personally happened. So we are always willing to entertain conversations around GPAs that are less than 3.0. So don't be intimidated by that or think that we're automatically going to cut you because you're below that GPA. That does not happen. We want to get to know you. We're way more interested in the statement of intent, what your references have to say, and then down the road, that interview and how that goes. I'll skip ahead of here. We do not require standardized testing, so no GRE or GMAT. We used to require standardized testing for students not coming from an arts background, and we would require a portfolio for students coming from an art and design background. None of that is required anymore. So no portfolio is required and no standardized testing is required. We have gone to a portfolio being optional for all applicants. And I don't want you to be intimidated by this. If you are coming from an art and design background and have a portfolio, amazing, send us that. But if you're not from that background and you would like to send us presentations you've put together, final projects, a large research paper that you wrote and want to highlight some things from. We had a theater major. We currently have a theater major undergrad in our program who put some snips, some stills from shows that she directed or scenes that sets that she created. I don't remember which, but she just included some things like that. You can make this in a PDF or a Word document and send it to us. If you've already created a portfolio website for yourself, if that's something that you have, you can send us a link to that and we'll look at it. This is, again, not something to stress about. It is not mandatory, but if it's something that you have or have been thinking about doing, we would love to see samples of things that you've created, and always happy to answer questions or talk more about this. We also don't need that portfolio right on December 15th. That can come a little bit after that. It's the statement of intent, the resumes, the names and emails, and the transcript requests that have to be in order for you to click submit on that application. There is also an application fee of $70. I believe that what I'm learning, we're in a new application system, and I believe that you can submit it without that $70, but we're not going to be able to move forward in the process without that. So again, we'll put an email up at the end, but if that feels like a barrier for any reason, one, you don't have to tell us the reason. And if you want to, you can, but you don't have to. Just let us know that you would like to have a waiver of the application fee, and we can take care of that for you, because we don't want that to be a barrier. And I also don't want you to feel like you have to tell us your life story to get a $70 waiver. So just let us know you want that, and that's fine. All right, and then this is our final slide. We will answer any questions you have, but we've got our general email up there. I can't talk and type, but as soon as I finish talking, I'll put my email in the chat. Awesome, Allison's got that ready to go. Amazing. So those are in there if you want to email us directly. Those Da Vinci Center at vcu.edu do go to a real person and do eventually make their way to whoever needs to answer the questions as well. Cool. But that is all our information for you all, and we are happy to take some questions here.
Yeah, feel free to drop them in the chat or unmute. Thank you for the applause. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Oh, yay. Thank you.
Great job. Thanks so much. So informative. I have a logistical question. If I'm considering doing part-time while working full-time, like regular 9 to 5 hours, are all the MPI courses in the evening?
Wonderful question that we didn't cover when we were talking about that. Thank you for that. Yes, all the MPI classes are generally in the 6 to 8:40 block. So all the required, all the required courses are going to be in the 6 to 8:40 block. Because we've expanded the electives, some of those are going to be 4 o'clock, or some might be earlier in the day, but you will be able to find electives that you can take after work or online, or, we'll find things for you. Again, because we've expanded our electives, we just have run out of space for every single one of them to be 5 o'clock or later. But
and then too many of them overlap, and then it becomes an issue.
Yes, but all the required classes are 6 to 8:40, and we will help you find electives that can work with your schedule.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm also curious about the European Innovation Academy. I'm wondering why students recommend taking it at the beginning of the program versus in the middle or the end.
So primarily because it gives a level of understanding of what you're going to experience throughout the MPI at the beginning, but very fast paced. So you get the breadth, and then you get to go into depth in the rest of the program. So at the end of the program, my students who waited until more towards the end of their program is they all articulated that it wasn't as big of a challenge as they thought it would be, and they kind of wish they had done it at the beginning to set them up with the mindset of like, oh, this is how this works. Oh, I already have this network of international people that I can go to in the event I have a question about something that I'm not an expert in. I can, I have this mentorship to be able to help me get a job potentially in an international space, those kinds of things. But students who have already worked to develop their own business didn't find it as challenging, because that program has to be set up for anyone who hasn't experienced entrepreneurship to be able to go through it. So I always tell my students, like, if you participated in any Da Vinci program, you're going to recognize every phrase on every sign that's around you, of putting focus on the user, making sure that you're validating before you're moving forward, and those kinds of things, which seem kind of logical to our students, but it's funny how much, especially the MPIs, become unicorns when they leave, because not all organizations have that mindset. And so it becomes very normal in the MPI, but it is not necessarily normal out everywhere else, which is kind of cool. So we get to see how well you all are desired through things like that. But yeah, the beginning students, they understood the challenges that were in front of them. They could use it as a learning experience. They could get competitive if they wanted to try to make it into the top 10, or to win some of the scholarships that are there. But ultimately, so like I had Kale, who went through the undergraduate product innovation program, and did she go through venture creation too, Mary Chris? I can't remember.
Maybe I don't remember either, but yeah.
But anyway, so she went through the undergraduate and then joined the MPI and went into in her first summer, and then came out, and her reflection really had more to do with like, I'm really glad that I had the experience of the undergraduate programs, so that way I can find myself being a leader in this space, like with my team, but I still felt really challenged by the concepts, and just being on a team with 4 people that you've just met from 4 different countries is a huge challenge. And so you have to work through all of that conflict. So yeah, she learned about herself a lot as a leader in that space, as a mediator, as a person who was already a good communicator, but needed to ramp that up, because you're forming, storming, norming, and you're not even getting to performing by the end of this stuff. These are like a process that we talk about in Scrum, but that's like to storm for 3 weeks with a team. It's a bit of a struggle, but she really valued kind of what came out in the end, and learned a lot about herself in the process, just as a young professional.
That's so cool. Thank you.
It's a lot of fun.
Sounds like it.
We get together too, but the MPIs became very close, and we had a good split between students who are coming in our new cohort, and ones who have been in our previous cohort. It's amazing to see them walk into the same buildings and just like hug it out, because they haven't seen each other in nearly a month, and they just, they missed each other. It's really great to see the culture that we're intentionally trying to build. The students are doing it themselves. They don't need us to hold their hands in this way. But yeah, do you have any other questions?
I think that's all. I did see, so part-time would be 6 credits a semester, full-time 9 credits, and there are summer semesters, so students are taking classes in the summer. So yeah, I think I have everything that I was wondering about.
Awesome. And I'll just mention, every now and then I get a part-time question about like, can I take just like 1 class a semester? And as you're finding, you can like with like the 610 and stuff just to start off. But like once we get into that 500, if you were to try to take just 1 a semester, it kind of puts you out on that 4-year timeline. And so that's why I split it up that way. It works really well to do 6 and 6, and then it keeps it to that 2 year. So it's not that you can't, it just, we're talking about a much longer timeline if you took less than 6 a semester.
Right. Okay. Good to know.
Cool.
Well, it's lovely to see you again.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yes.
Thanks so much. I'm excited.
All right.
Enjoy 610 this semester, and we will talk soon. If you need anything, just reach out to us.
Oh, and I was just going to say, specifically for you, because you're taking 610 now, if you decided that you wanted to go to EIA and do 600, 610 is an elective for you.
Oh, okay.
So if you do both 600 counts for the requirement and 610 counts as an elective. So that's how it'll fit in for you if you do both.
And Dee, you're not currently an undergraduate student, are you?
No, I'm a working professional.
Awesome. Fantastic. Then yes, that makes it easier. There'd be another caveat if you were still completing your undergraduate degree while doing 610, but that does not apply to you. And if anybody in the recording needs help with that, we're glad to answer those questions.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.